So I was doodling with my paints. Tried to make some ube dessert type things, but some of them ended up looking like piles of doo-doo. And you know what? Speaking of piles of doo-doo, I want to talk to you about the time that I was friends with a narcissist. How I got out of it. Sorry, I got distracted. Someone passed by with an Uber Eats and it looked kind of good. How I got out of it, and also how I felt in the moment, because I want this to be kind of like a letter to my younger self, telling her, kind of shaking her up, telling her, shut up, stop this right now, stop accepting this, and how to get out of those types of friendships or relationships, because they will not do you any good, especially if you have big dreams and big goals in life. It's gonna get in the way. And regardless if you have dreams or goals, it's soul-sucking to be in a friendship like that. Let's go back to when I was in my early 20s, many years ago. First off, I don't like throwing the word around narcissist. I feel like it's very overused. Or maybe that's just my take on it because social media kind of overuses a lot of words. I'm not trying to invalidate anyone either. But the beginning of this story starts when I was a young girl, a budding entrepreneur getting into the field of personal training. And that's the business that I'm in right now in this phase of my life. Beginning my personal training journey was really difficult in the moment because I just had no idea what I was doing. It was tough because I didn't know the proper system on how to get clients and how to keep growing, especially to pay for all my bills, living on my own. And in that time I lived with roommates. But still, it was fresh out of college. I just had no direction. I know that I just wanted more freedom outside of working a 9-to-5. And personal training was that for me because I saw that a bunch of successful trainers around me had fairly chill schedules where they would work probably like 6 hours a day max, but it took them time to get to that point, right? It didn't just happen, and I wanted to pick their brains because I wanted to live that lifestyle. I just can't sit at a desk for the rest of my life. It's one of the most depressing things I could think about. I got into a private gym where there were a bunch of already seasoned trainers. It was kind of intimidating. I remember the first time I stepped in, I had just myself. I didn't even have my client with me. I was checking out the spot, and there were just the most jacked people all over this 750 square foot gym, and everyone was working out. They were pumping iron, and I was just intimidated because I had no idea what I was doing. The owner said you could try out this spot, and I was leaving a big box gym, and I had only 5 clients with me. I don't know what I was thinking in that moment, but that is not enough to just jump into it. But I have no regrets because it ended up making me into the person that I am today. With my 5 clients, I was like, let's test it out. I had a deal with the gym owner where I would slowly increase my rent as time went on, as I built my clientele. And the first month was fine. I was still getting my bearings. Luckily, my clients with me at the time were all for it. They wanted me to have my own thing because the big box gym that I was at only allowed me to take 20% of the commissions that I made. I know, it's crazy. Looking back, I'm like, girl, have some self-worth, have some dignity. This is why I'm telling this story, because I want you to know your worth. And even though it sounds scary at first to stand up for yourself, which is the moral of this whole story as we lead in, I guess, the narcissist of the story. It's all learning lessons. There's a big reason why you go through the things that you go through, and it's because it has a purpose. And I believe the purpose for me was so that I could help other people out who are in similar situations. So a couple months in, one of the trainers in the gym was like, hey, I have a friend at another spot. He's looking for a female trainer. That's all. There was no background, no context. But me being desperate, I was like, yeah, sure. I'm looking for more opportunities. In retrospect, again, I'm like, what was I thinking? There was no context to this conversation. All he said was that his friend was looking for a female trainer. That's red flag number 1. Why is a guy looking just for a female trainer? But anyway, I get in contact with this guy, and he sets up a meeting with me. And I'm nervous. I don't know what to expect. I just want to pick his brain because I know that this guy is successful in the industry. He trains a lot of clients. He has a great schedule. He only trains around 4-5 hours a day. And I wanted that. It's a lot more than what I had financially. So the time comes where I meet with this guy, and he walks up in the coffee shop, and I was immediately intimidated. He was wearing his sunglasses. He was wearing all black. Didn't really look me in the eye, and he played it quote unquote cool. Like, he was just nonchalantly looking around, asking me about myself, like just a little bit. He said, okay, well, this is what I do, blah, blah, blah. It's that simple. And I train clients. And again, there's no context to what we were even going to be talking about. But he said, come check out the gym that I train at. And I said, okay, let me check it out. I want to see what this guy is about. We check out the gym, and it's exactly what I wanted. It was a bigger space. There was a lot more freedom in it. And I knew I could grow there, especially with this guy's guidance. And slowly but surely, we ended up getting closer, being friends, and I moved my clients to the gym that he was at. This guy was telling me in the very beginning, you know, you could build your business, just listen to me. This is all you have to do, and do exactly as I say, which is, again, another red flag. Do exactly as I say, and you'll never go hungry again. That's how it felt. I listened to everything he said. He taught me how to get clients the way that he got his clients. And I got frustrated because I just wasn't moving as fast as he was gonna say that I'd move. Which is fine, because now I realize that's, like, everyone has just a different growth process, and if you keep comparing yourself to how other people have grown in the same field, you're gonna be miserable. And I just got myself in that comparison mode where every time I would get a client, another client would fall off. And it felt like this up and down for the longest time, and I just felt like such a failure. At least he was very helpful in that moment because he just told me to keep going. But at the same time, he would drop in little things here and there where he would say, this is easy, you should do better. There's so many people in this county, how could you not get more people? He said, when I did it so quickly. I ended up making 5 figures a month within a few months. And he just kept throwing that out there, and I just felt very, just not as good enough as at this as he is. And I started making that a part of my identity, is that this guy is way better than I am, and I need this guy. And that is one thing that you should look out for when it comes to any relationship or friendship that you get into, is that if you start feeling like they're so much better than you, and you almost feel like you need them all the time, or else you can't succeed on your own, that is a red flag. It means that they've got you wrapped around their finger. our friendship grew. And the things that he would say is, it's just, everyone has done me wrong. This person screwed me over. I used to work with this person, so and so, and they took everything from me. And, you know, I'm just afraid of that. This is why I don't have many friends. La 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 la. But you, I can trust you. It was a lot of that vocabulary. And in my head, I think it was just because I was so manipulated. I thought, oh my gosh, this person who's so cool can trust me. This is my dream come true. I realized I thought that because this is how I'm psychoanalyzing this. I'm not a therapist or anything, but the way I see it was because I grew up as such an awkward kid and I struggled with making friends, and a lot of people made fun of me and I just got bullied by the most random people. I saw this guy as kind of a representation of those cool kids, where because now I feel accepted by this guy, I need to hang on. That means I am worth being part of the cool kids club, which is so messed up because I had lower self-worth back then. And that's why it's so important to work on your confidence and not depending on external circumstances or people to determine what your worth is, because your worth isn't derived from external circumstances, and no one could define your worth either. You define it yourself through whoever you are. If you're kind, that goes a long way, and I have to remind myself that too, because kindness goes a long way and it's infectious, and you could help people out just by being kind. It's free to be kind. But anyway, I thought of this guy as, you know, one of the cool kids. That's how I symbolized him as. And I was afraid to lose that, I guess, social status, because I know that a lot of other trainers around knew how much money he made. If you put so much worth on how much someone makes and you put their value of their character based on that, then you are in trouble. And I was in trouble. I kind of started having this sinking feeling because I'd be in the gym, he'd be there, and I was almost afraid that he was watching me, that I was doing something wrong, because when we would do work sessions together on helping me build my clientele, reaching out, cold calling, or just cold texting potential clients around the area, I would feel like I was always doing something wrong, because if I made just a little hiccup on how I messaged someone, if I said something a little wrong, because he had a whole system that he wanted me to play out when I would message people, he would have to fix it, and I felt indebted to him when he would have to fix it. And he told me how to speak, how to act around people, how to dress, how to just be a different person other than myself, because that's what narcissists are. They're not the real them. They never show their true selves in the very beginning, because it's almost like an anglerfish, you know, like from Finding Nemo. I think that was in Finding Nemo. Anglerfish are deep sea creatures where they lure in people, or not people, where they lure in other sea creatures with their light, and they eventually prey on them. And that's what it feels like. It's like they invite you in with their charm. They love bomb you. So I learned what love bombing was. He always said that it's just you and me against the world, and we'll be so successful in this industry together. Just do what I say and you'll go far. He kept saying that. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I do believe in that, but it was definitely a tactic that he used on me. As I started feeling a little anxious around him, I didn't really pay attention to those feelings of anxiety. I just thought that it was normal, because I thought that this guy was cool. and I didn't want to disappoint him, and he's helped me a lot. You don't realize that you play out that type of transactional relationship in a lot of your intimate relationships or your family dynamics in the past until you get out of the situation and you learn from it. And what I learned was that I thought that I was so indebted to anyone who did the bare minimum for me, and that hurt me a lot in the process, because I just felt like I needed to perform and be a good girl because someone did something for me. And if this is like a letter to my younger self or my future kids, I want you to know that you do not owe anyone anything. When someone does something nice for you, let's hope it's out of the kindness of their own heart. And if it wasn't, if they wanted something out of that, then run. And same goes for you. Do something nice for someone because you want to. Don't expect anything out of it. And move on with your life, because that's the best way to live, in my opinion. So, I'm going to talk about one particular instance when I started feeling anxiety, when I started feeling something was wrong in this friendship. Because he helped me so much with my business and how to grow it, how to be a successful trainer, my clientele started growing, thankfully, and I'm thankful for that. Learned a lot of lessons, but also I got to give myself credit where I did my own twist to it as well, and I have to thank myself for that too, because I thought outside of the box of all the tips and tricks that he was teaching me. But one of the first times that I started feeling anxiety was I was working with a friend, and we were just doing work on our laptops. I was working on some social media posts, and she was working on her real estate business. And it was in this time when I was helping this guy out with creating a course based on all the things that he's learned on how to build his personal training business. I started setting everything up. My husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, helped me set up the film gear, how to get everything, how to even set up the cameras, the lights in this guy's house. Everything was set up for him. All he had to do was show up, talk about what he knows, and I did all the editing. And God, I really kick myself for doing that, because looking back at my past patterns, I always overextended myself to people who just did the bare minimum for me. And yes, this guy did help me a lot, but also know how much you offer to people too if you tend to be the type of person who people pleases, because people pleasers, it's not good to people please, because it is a form of lying, but also at the same time, I feel like people pleasers have the tendency to overextend themselves for people who don't really deserve it. Going back to working with my friend, I told her, oh man, I need to actually go. I need to record another lesson at this guy's house. He's gonna get upset if I'm not there on time. He was kind of upset last time. And she was like, why don't you just stop working with him? It was just so easy for her to say, but it felt like a gut punch to me. I was freaking out. I was like, I can't just do that. He's gonna be upset. He's gonna make me feel so bad. I can't just leave like that. But also it's like, I owe it to him. I need to stay. And even though I've put in hundreds of hours into setting up this whole routine of filming his lessons and editing them, I still need to finish this out, because I promised. I mean, I didn't promise, but I told him that I do it, and I don't want him to get mad at me. The main thing was, I don't want him to get mad at me. I don't want him to show that side, because deep down I knew that he would have a side where it was really nasty that it would just absolutely break me. and I was afraid of seeing that side. So I stuck around for a little longer. As we got closer and closer to finishing the project, he got a lot more picky. He got a lot pickier, or he had been picky, but he was a lot more, he was acting like a diva. Every time I'd suggest, we need to release this now, we need to create a launch date, we need to release this. We've already put in so much work, and we can't just keep trying to perfect something because we need to get feedback. And nothing's going to happen until we launch this. So let's just get it going. And he said, no, let's put it off. It's not perfect yet. It's not perfect yet. I'm like, what is not perfect? There's so many programs out there that get released that have a version 2, 3, 4, up to 10. We can always make this better. And he just was not hearing it. He was just so emotional to a point that every time that I'd come over, I'd drive round trip 35 minutes to his place. And again, I'm not getting paid for this. I'm doing it because I felt indebted to him. There would be so many days where he was just not feeling it because something happened and he just can't perform. And I'd get there and he'd say, oh man, like we just chat for 10 minutes. And then he'd say, oh, I just can't do this. I can't do this right now. Sorry, we'll just do this another day. And I'm like, okay, fine. But I never made it known, hey, I took my time out of my day to come here. And I think the least you could do is at least just do one little thing to move this project forward. But I kept my mouth shut because, again, I had a feeling that he had this really ugly side of him that would just sneak out. And this kept happening a handful of times where he would just be so emotional about something and we would end up not recording that day and I would waste gas just going there. There were a few times where I would show up and then he'd call me. He'd say, no, I can't do this right now. Total waste of my time. And then one day I was like, I'm just not gonna show up, which is also not good on my end for not communicating that, because I play a part in this too, and I want you to know that this is a two-way street and we all have a part in every relationship and friendship. So I was like, how about I give him a taste of his own medicine? I am not gonna come because I don't feel like it. And then he called me because I didn't show up. He was like, where are you? And I said, oh, I can't make it today. I'm just like, I basically played the same card that he would play of not feeling the best. And he was like, oh, okay. And I knew he was upset. Didn't talk about it. And one of the next times we met up at his place, we talked about other things other than filming once more. And I was like, dude, I can't keep coming here and just wasting my gas. It's not just my gas, it's my time. There's just too much I could be editing right now, and everything we're talking about could be talked about through text or email. So we didn't do any filming again that day. And then when I left, I told him, I was like, hey, I feel like a lot of these things could be just done through text or email. So I don't know, like if you'd be open to it, can I just make the suggestion that we can just do some of this virtually? And he was like, okay. It was fine. So I didn't think anything of it. A couple weeks go by. We've been seeing each other in the gym. Everything's normal. After I had made that suggestion, after a couple weeks, I get a random call from him and I answer the phone and he said, he was just quiet. He was just a little different. He said, so you think you can just tell me what to do? And I said, huh? What do you mean? What are you talking about? He said, a couple weeks ago, you suggested that we just do some things through email? Do you tell your sensei or your professor or your master what to do? And I said, no. no. And he's like, then why did you suggest that we do these things your way? Do you have any more things to say? Like, are there other suggestions that you want to say to me? And he just went off. And I was shocked. I was afraid. I was terrified. I was like, oh my gosh, I guess I made a mistake. I made a huge mistake. How can I fix this? I can't believe that I was so stupid to make this mistake of even suggesting, yeah, like, who am I to tell this guy what to do? He's helped me a lot. Obviously, he knows better. Yeah, he's totally right. And oh my gosh, I justified so many of his actions just because I was merely afraid of how his reactions would be if I didn't play along with them. And that's how a lot of narcissists are. So I profusely apologized. I ended up crying because I was like, this sucks. My friend's mad at me. I can't believe it. I really messed this up. I started waking up in that moment. I thought to myself, wait a damn minute. Who are you? I was like, I just made a suggestion. Why did he hold it in this whole time? What is happening here? Oh my God, was my friend right? Should I stop working with him? She was so right. And, oh God, in that moment, my heart sank. It felt like it sank into my stomach and it fell down and I didn't know what to do. I was afraid of what was going to happen because I knew I had to rip the Band-Aid off. I cannot work with this guy anymore. He has taken advantage of me. He's made me feel like my worth was less than. After that phone call, I was like, let's see how much longer I can go on without going insane. I told him sorry, which I kind of regret, but oh well. So we're back to how things were. Everything was normal. He basically pardoned me as if I were a little beggar dog on the street, and me being so pathetic and apologizing and him saying, you know what, no, it's okay, it's fine. It's kind of like he had this air of everyone makes mistakes and I'm glad you owned up to your mistake for wronging me. Ugh, I'm so mad that I even allowed that to happen. But it's okay. We grow. Whatever. This is the point of the story. I started just doing everything as if it's almost like I wanted to keep justifying that it was time to leave because this guy was out of control. He is a straight up self-centered pile of doo-doo, like the doodles that I made on the side of this page. I was back at his place, was editing. Oh, and then this guy has a wife and he has a couple kids, young kids, toddler and baby age. And he would openly say that someone's very attractive or hot in front of his wife, and she'd obviously get upset over it, but that's just how he was as how he is as a person. I'm just taking a peek in his personality. And his wife is I think she's just so far gone in this relationship that when I started standing up for myself after that phone call that he blew up on me at, I can't forget this conversation because they had the audacity. I said, you know what? I think I can offer a little bit more insight on how this marketing thing should go down, on how it should be released. I have a lot to offer. I said it like that, and it took a lot out of me to say. And she looks at me while I think she was eating a piece of fruit with her hand on her hip, standing next to him. And she was like, you have a lot to offer? Like what? And oh my gosh, that just shut me down right away, and it made me start having negative thought spirals, and I thought to myself, maybe I don't have a lot to offer. And then that's when I knew that something was really, like, it's time. It's time to get out of there. His wife was just enabling his actions. She is playing a huge part in this as well. You know, it's like, girl, if you don't like the way he's talking about other women around you, what are you doing? What are you doing? I've had enough of this shit. I basically started taking the steps of breaking off this friendship. And I was terrified. I was scared out of my wits. I knew I just gotta go for it. I just gotta go for it. There's no use in me staying in this friendship because these people they obviously don't see me as someone who has anything worthy to give. They're just using me at this point. It's a scary place to be in, but also kind of relieving because you realize in that moment, I have nothing to lose anymore. I am just sick and tired of being treated like this. And I'm just glad that I realized that I've been getting treated like crap for some time and I just didn't recognize it. This is the ironic part. He was acting so emo, so extra for the longest time because I guess I've just been standing up for myself, and he was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, no, we should keep continuing. And after his wife made that remark of, what do you have to offer? Like what? After she said that, I was the one that sent the message after. And I said, hey, I think we should stop doing this. I don't want to work on this anymore. You know what the weirdest part was? It was like a complete 180. This guy he was asking me for feedback. He was asking me for feedback like I had just left a video game store, asking me what my experience was like testing out their products. He asked me, on the phone call, what do you think I could have done better? His tone was just completely changed. And in that moment, I was like, wow, I made the right decision. This person is psychotic. They really have no remorse for what they did. They're treating this like a customer appreciation survey, which is really odd. And on top of that, I was like not forced. I just couldn't believe my ears. I was like, he really does not know what he could have done better? He does not know? This is crazy. So after I just threw him a bone. I was like, I just can't. I don't even remember what I said. I just wanted to get out of that conversation as soon as possible. And that was it. But the times leading up to breaking off the friendship, it was one of the most anxiety-inducing moments of my life because I really felt like my life and my quality of life depended solely on this one person. This one person had the key to the life of freedom that I wanted, that I started ignoring what it was like to be myself, what I really wanted. He started controlling the way I even ate. He told me how to dress and how to eat, and I was blind to it. I didn't even realize that he was doing that until I got out of the situation and I started talking about it, and I started looking up content based on people like that, and that's when I realized this person is a narcissist. And I had no idea what a narcissist was, and then as soon as I read that, it started opening up like a Pandora's box for me of who in my life is a narcissist, like certain family members. It just opened up so much clarity for me at the same time as to why I allowed myself to get treated that way. I was mad at myself for letting someone treat me that way, but at the same time, I felt a sense of relief. It's almost like a discovery that I stumbled upon of, this explains why I am the way I am in certain relationships and friendships. This is why I didn't have a lot of self-worth. It's because I had played out this dynamic before in a close relationship, that I was just playing the same game again. I liken it to it's almost like a video game. You're doomed to repeat the same level unless you learn how to beat the boss battle or the mini boss battle with every level. Forced to repeat the same thing over and over until you get out. And I'm glad I got out, because that situation allowed me to make connections with other friends or family members who have experienced similar things, where they had equally horrific, if not even more, types of relationships with narcissists that they wouldn't have known had it not been us having a conversation about it. I also had to realize that I played a part in it, and it doesn't excuse his actions, but the biggest part I played in this was that I just wasn't standing up for what I believed in, and people pleasing is lying, because I am sacrificing my truth, I guess. My truth. I feel like that word is also played out. That's why I don't like saying my truth, but just for lack of better words, I was sacrificing my truth just for the sake of someone else's comfort, for someone else's comfort who thinks that the world owes him everything. I'm just glad I'm not there anymore. But that is my biggest learning lesson, is that I played a part in this, and I don't need to play that part anymore, because it's not only just going to damage my self-esteem, but because I am enabling someone else to keep doing terrible things to other people, to myself, I mean, that'll allow them to continue doing that to other people in their lives. So if you're afraid to stand up for yourself or speak up, at least if it's not for yourself, speak up for someone else, because it could help someone else. Because I know my situation has helped someone else. The funny part is that I heard from another trainer that some other person that they know that I had no idea even existed, that word got to them about me standing up to this guy and cutting things off, that they were glad that it happened. And I was like, that's crazy. I don't know who this person is, but I'm glad I heard that, because it kind of brought me more peace, because it was, I still felt anxiety from that experience for a long period of time. Because here's another, this is the twist of the story. I planned, because I broke things off in that friendship, I was like, let me just release a video of how I got my personal training clients. This child, the narcissistic child, had his lawyer friend contact me, or he sent me mail that had a cease and desist and said, if you don't take this video down, we will take legal action, because these are the teachings of our Lord and Messiah, your friend that you cut things off with, blah, 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 he who must not be named. And of course, I was afraid in that moment. But then the more I talked about it with other people, especially my mother-in-law, who is an angel, I love her. She practiced law, so luckily I've got such a huge army behind me. She looked at it and she was like, this has no weight in court. She said, get rid of this, get rid of him. He is a dark and evil person. She's like, this is ridiculous. And I was like, I love you. I'm so glad you are my family. Even though that was such a horrible experience of dealing with that one individual, that experience of having my mother-in-law help me, having my sister and my now husband and everyone coming to me in that time of grief and fear, all of them just comforting me, it made me realize I am so lucky. I am the luckiest person alive because I have this support system, and this person, this narcissist, probably didn't have that. And I feel for them. I truly feel for them, and I hope that they feel joy, the joy that I feel with my family members and with my husband, because what I have, they can't take that away from me. And this is also your sign that whatever you're going through, even if you don't have the support system, you can always come back to this video and listen, because there are people out there you haven't even met yet that will treat you better than, let's say, if you have family that's treating you this way. There's so many people out there that will treat you way better than you could ever imagine. And it just goes back to your self-worth. Well, I hope you enjoyed that story time while I adjust this light. And I wish someone had told me this when I was in that situation. But I think that's life. You know, we learn lessons along the way and we just pass them on. And this is just my way of passing it on, if it's something that you need to hear. And just know that it's not your fault for getting into that type of friendship or relationship. Seek out healthy forms of coping. Seek out community. I'm sure I've seen so many forums and so many online communities on how to deal with people like that and dealing with the repercussions and the fallout, because these people love a good fallout repercussion. But that's on them. It's not on you. They just want to hurt other people because they're just not happy people. And you know what's great? You can actually experience joy and happiness, and I think that's a big win. Okay, I'll see you next time. Maybe I'll blab the same amount. Who knows? I think I just yapped too much. Blabbing is my favorite sport. This is gonna be my thumbnail. How I found out I was friends with a narcissist. Painting story time. I think this would be such a cute little tote bag.